to introduce to you Mr. Hyde Chambers, the chairman of the Tibet Society, who is going to chair our meeting tonight. Mr. Hyde Chambers.
Thank you, George, very much. And it's really nice to see actually some very old friends and supporters of Tibet here. Just a couple of points, actually. I've been involved with Tibet as a number of people here for quite a long time. The one thing that always makes an impression on me is every single person that I know who's still been involved in Tibet and the Tibetan issues will say actually how much they've gained from it. And it is quite unusual in that way. Just as I say, a couple of points before we begin, which I think is really important for this audience to keep in mind. Unlike any of the other major political campaigns, the Tibetan issue is entirely supported by individuals, and that's why a lot of the achievement is quite remarkable. There are no governments that give support. The Indian government, yes, provides remarkable hospitality for the Tibetan government in exile and Tibetan refugees, but everything politically that happens is through individuals, and through individuals within parliaments and various politicians, but that is very, very much dependent on individuals like you. The second thing is that I think sometimes, and because of the remarkable charisma and the influence that the Dalai Lama has, possibly there are two things that we don't always recognise about Tibetans in general. You know, they came out in 1959 speaking a language nobody understood, having skills that were not at all relevant to India, with considerable lack of immunity to Indian diseases, in an environment which was extremely poor. And an awful lot of them, all they were able to do was actually work on the roads. You look at where they are now and the type of careers that they're engaged in, how they've settled in parts of the world, everywhere really, and integrated and incredibly good advocates for their cause, have their own parliament, own government structure. And if you talk to young Tibetan, we have two here, classic examples actually, of the younger generation today, and it's the steps that have been made are quite remarkable actually. They are the most successful, and this is not me saying this, this is international bodies. They're the most successful refugee group since the Second World War. The other point is that Tibet's been occupied now for 60 years. It is quite remarkable that the third generation of individuals are even more passionate, if it's possible, about their national identity than their grandfathers were. They've only known occupied Tibet. And that's an enormous cause for hope, because if an occupied country, if that desire, that aspiration for freedom passes down the generations, it isn't lost. We experience this with our land. The other point, which is again very, very remarkable, when they came out, Tibetans had no desire to proselytize. Yet today there were 40 Tibetan centres, we've got one here, 40 Tibetan Buddhist centres within the UK alone, and the degree of quiet influence says an enormous amount for Tibetan values, for Tibetan approach to life. They're perfectly ordinary individuals, but it does say an enormous amount about them as a people. And I think it's one of the reasons that people do become so engaged and supportive. So forgive me for taking so long. I would like you to just keep that in mind as you hear Mr. Thubten Samdup, who has for 15 months now been the representative of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, is unique actually in that he's been appointed from outside the diplomatic service of Tibet, Tibetan government in exile, and for 17 years he was the president of the Canada Tibet Committee and also of the Tibetan community in Canada, and has really achieved an enormous amount there, and is bringing that experience to his post as His Holiness's representative here.